Welcome to After the Show, your weekly movie podcast brought to you by A. Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Hello, everybody. Welcome to After the Show. Hello, Sid Talk. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Very, very, very good.
Oh, my. Very good.
I just sat down and watched a 3-hour and 13-minute movie, and that's one of my favorite things.
It really is. We like long ones.
Yeah. So what's the before the after the show discussion?
There wasn't much. You did your thing, and I did my thing. I was checking the plants. I have a lot of seedlings in the dining room. We'll just say, when I say a lot, I don't mean like 50. I mean like 1,400.
Is that how many there is? I wasn't aware.
Yeah. If you look real close. Not that this is a gardening podcast. This is just before the after the show. I was checking my plants in the dining room, and there are a lot.
You have talked about gardening before, but
I have. It's becoming a thing. And if I decided if I'm not going to be good at it, then I'm going to quit. And I'm just going to be good at it then.
Yeah, you don't quit.
Exactly.
No. That's the wrong move. Nobody quits.
Oh, I quit things if I think it's really boring or unstimulating. I don't quit because things are difficult. I just quit because I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'm out. I'm moving on to something new. But gardening has got a hold of me.
All right. Gardening, podcasting, and me. Rude.
You mean my lack of response?
Just when you went.
I'm just contemplating. I'm contemplating the order there.
All right, so it is Saturday, April the 8th. This is After the Show, a movie review podcast, and this is episode number 782. This week we're looking at the movie Avatar: The Way of Water. It's a 2022 release. You can stream it now on VOD, so you need to pay full price to watch it. Apparently in some countries it's already on Disney+. You'll have to check your local listings if that's such a thing. Rated PG-13 from our friends at Disney, who sent us a code. Sid Talk, give us the synopsis of Avatar: The Way of Water.
No one needs a synopsis of any Avatar movie. I'm just saying, it's the next one in the Avatar world. There are jerks who want to come and take over this place for whatever it's got, and the people who live there need to defend it.
That is pretty much what it is. Yeah.
And it looks gorgeous.
That's probably not part of the synopsis.
It should be.
Oh, here we go. Here's the real synopsis. Jake Sully lives with his newfound family, formed on the extrasolar moon Pandora. Once a familiar threat returns to finish what was previously started, Jake must work with Neytiri and the army of Na'vi, and it also looks gorgeous. So there's the real...
Yeah.
To protect their home is the actual real ending.
Yeah.
So Avatar: The Way of Water, it's the sequel to Avatar, which came out in 2009, believe it or not. We actually saw it in the theater and also several times during that time, right? I haven't watched it in 10 years, though, I wouldn't say.
I think I watched it 3 times at the time.
And we reviewed it as well, so maybe you watched it 4 times?
No, 3 was including the review. Saw it with my mother, I believe. And then I went and saw it maybe by myself.
You saw it with me on
Did we go see it at
night.
the theater? Okay, then
right.
that was it, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we enjoyed the first one. And it was, the first one was James Cameron bringing 3D. And how did that go, the 3D thing?
What 3D?
Kind of caught on for a little bit, and now it doesn't exist right in the home. So it's kind of weird.
I think if someone would play back my comments about 3D at the time, they would think that I was a very good prognosticator.
I think you said it was okay, but you don't think it'll catch on.
It's bullshit to think people are going to go through those efforts for that little of a payoff. I mean, come on. 3D is not that big a deal. I live in 3D. I don't need to watch a movie in 3D.
No. So Avatar: The Way of Water is also in 3D in the theaters, but we watched the flat version, the plain old flat version.
And funny enough, it was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine and dandy.
So, Sito, what did you think of Avatar: The Way of Water?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. The end.
The end.
I mean, your eyes are, it's like a spectacle, obviously. And the story is what it is. It is about colonization of a place that has people living there by people who think they're more important because they have bigger weapons and whatever, and they want to take over. I mean, it's a real human story.
Basically, the same story as the original film, isn't it? Pretty much.
I mean, it's the continuation of this place has resources that the humans on Earth want.
Yeah.
And there is no stopping the humans who want to take over a thing. And so that's the story. It's just a reflection of reality. It just happens to be a bunch of blue people and on floating islands and whales that talk and all kinds. No, they don't talk, but they communicate. So it's two layers. It's like very preachy, right? About environmentalism, about colonization, about genocide, all these big things. And it's also just a romp through a digital world that is spectacular.
Yeah, science fiction.
Yeah.
James Cameron is obviously the director.
Have we ever determined what year this is all happening in?
I'm thinking maybe the first one told you, but does it matter?
Yeah, I'd like to know how far in advance we can clone people.
Oh, yeah, that's a revelation in this movie.
That was very interesting.
They kind of backtrack some things that happened in the first movie by using cloning to continue that on, right?
I don't know if he's backtracking, but I think he knew the whole story. So it's just part of his story that he's telling.
Yeah. I was thinking when we watched Avatar back in 2009, there's nothing that could come close to looking any better than this. It's just so like ahead of its time, fantastic looking. And then I went back and had a look at the older one this morning. I was watching a recap video and it looks the same as this. This doesn't look better.
Oh, you don't think?
No, it just looks the same. He said he wanted to wait 10 years for technology to catch up so he could do more things. So maybe I don't understand how technology works.
That's not true.
Maybe the stuff in this movie to do with water, for instance.
Oh, water is amazing and none of it's real. Well, it has to be some of it real in some of the scenes.
I think people are in tanks sometimes and underwater photography, but I think it's digitally mixed with digital water. I don't think there's anything in this movie where I look at it and go, oh, that looks a bit wonky. It just all looks great, which I think is some kind of achievement in filmmaking.
You reckon?
Yeah, and I think he did it back in 2009. We came out of the theater and went, holy shit, what did we just see? Never seen anything like it. It is insane. Now, this one, I don't think it has that effect because you've already seen Avatar, right?
Correct.
But it's still impressive. Like, from the opening frame, I was like, holy crap. It just looks insane.
But here's the deal. I'm not any more impressed with Avatar at this point than I am when we're watching Star Wars TV shows.
The Mandalorian.
Any of them. Because knowing that none of that exists except some of the fronts, some of the sets. But on the whole, when you're zoomed out and you're seeing battles and you're seeing long vistas and landscapes, none of that is real either. It's equal to me now. Right. And even though Avatar is almost like 100%, because there are humans in this as well. It's not just all natty, but it's equal to me now. I'm unfortunately, that's becoming my standard. Maybe my brain is getting like, that's how it should look.
I feel like if your standard is Avatar, though, everything else is going to look wonky because this is so pristine. And
I disagree. Like I was just saying, I think that the Star Wars TV shows and their creatures and characters are maybe not as, because we don't linger on the alien creatures in Star Wars shows as much, like zooming right in on every little granular detail of their skin and whatnot. But I'm 100% convinced that they exist in that world, that they're not a guy in a fish mask or anything like that. So that's what I think. They're all equal now.
In the middle of the movie here, like I would say the middle third of this movie feels like a giant tech demo for this. Like it's a lot of shots of underwater and shots of just people flying about and being calm. And it's just gorgeous, like the whole thing.
True.
Just that middle section where they're all getting to know each other, the water people and the forest people.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about that.
In the original movie, you were just introduced to the Na'vi who lived in the forest. And then when the human assholes came and knocked down their tree of life or whatever it was called, they had to move on. Well, at the beginning of this movie, they moved on. And they moved on to another race. They're not Na'vi, are they? They had a name. they're the water people. So they're still blue people, but they're aqua blue, and they've got swimming skills.
Correct.
They can breathe underwater, etc.
I don't know if they can breathe underwater.
Well, they use the wildlife to breathe underwater.
Correct.
And they are an underwater, and it's just a different vibe once you get to this position in the movie, because it's all, water based. You get to see some really cool underwater creatures that, you're like, wow, these are like really alien looking underwater creatures. But then when I see just a normal David Attenborough documentary, stuff underwater looks alien anyway. Like,
True.
so maybe those things could exist. And the whales in this, it's got a cool environmental theme to it. Now, do you think it's kind of smacking you over the head a little bit with the environmental theme?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Because James is a proper environmentalist. And clearly his message is right smack in the center of both of these movies.
I think it's not just environmental. It's about humanity. The concept of like I was saying, the colonization or taking over and basically waging war on any area or people or thing or creature or species where you want to just go and do your thing. Like you've decided you're dominant and you're more important. And your contribution to this whole fucking world is more valuable. So it's okay to go and wipe out everybody that's there. If you can't get them in line and enslave them essentially, or push them down so far that you can pat them on their little heads, then you clean them out, wipe them out, intimidate them, bully them, destroy them, and then you can have whatever they have. That, I think, is the big message.
Yeah.
Regardless of environment or anything else, that's the biggest message. Like the overriding thing.
I feel like in this version of the movie, the second part of the movie, humans are much more assholey than they were in the first one.
Oh God, it's like immediate. I'm like, is there no negotiating here? Is there like...
Yeah, you're like, I can't get behind these people at all.
No.
Like, no.
That was a bit extreme, but then I don't know if that's not the way that military operations are in this... I'm not going to say this situation because it's fictional, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of all the times this has actually happened in humanity and in the world, how horrible it really is. I'm not privy to that. I only have movies and documentaries.
I mean, you could only really be ruthless, right? They try and do it. They try and do it the nice way in real life.
No,
first.
they don't. They didn't really.
Well, sometimes they do. They try and pay them off or get out of there and we'll pay you off.
That's what I was saying before. They try to like enslave you or put you down, control you. Then they take over your shit.
So as soon as Carmel Soprano appeared on the screen and started mouthing, I was like, oh, we're just horrible, aren't we? We're portrayed in this movie. You cannot root for the humans.
No.
Maybe one of the humans.
A couple are all right because you've got people who are on the side of the Navy. For sure.
Yeah. You've got the, what's he called? The mini Tarzan guy.
Spider.
I mean.
So from the first movie, there was a child. I did not even remember this child was in that movie.
Me neither.
But he was apparently left behind because they couldn't, whenever the Navy beat down the humans and the humans went back to Earth, some humans stayed because they were on the side of the Navy. This child had to be left behind because he was born on Navy and then couldn't be put in cryo stations. I don't remember any of that.
Me neither. Was it in the director's cut or something?
I don't even know. God, the director's cut be like 7 hours long. But he's there. So he's basically been raised as like a Tarzan child, we'll say, out in the wild and amongst the Navy. So he's an okay human.
He is. And then sometimes I kept thinking, oh, I think he might ultimately become the baddie. And then I was like, oh, maybe you will, maybe you won't. You know,
I was trying to think of James Cameron in those moments. Like, would he really have this person completely abandon, everything good that he's been taught about living with nature and all that? And I just couldn't see him thinking that way. So
you think he's more empathetic? You don't think he would? I mean, he likes portraying the horrific side of things too, though.
No, I meant he wouldn't take this character that he's now built, who's been living amongst these people
that we like at this point as well.
Right. Not just that, but that it's unnatural for him to like switch him over and like be, oh yeah, I want to see the humans kill all the people I care about. Like that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll mention spoilers right now because I want to talk about something about the ending.
Right on.
So spoilers, if you've not seen it, go and see it, come back. Spoilers. Okay. So when he rescues his dad at the end, I thought that was going to be father and son. We're going to team up and screw these people over.
Oh, no, I didn't think that.
I did, but I
and
was...
also explain what you're talking about, because you just said him and his son. Who are we talking about?
The guy from the first... It's really complicated, but the guy from the first movie, who Stephen Lang plays, you know that guy? The guy in the mech at the end.
And he's a bad guy?
He's the bad guy.
Okay.
He gets killed in the first Avatar movie. Well, how does he come back, Sid Talk?
They clone him as an actual Navi. They put his actual memories and who he is from his brain. They explain it in about 10 seconds with Giovanni Ribisi. So this clone is now an actual Navi. Like, he's from this planet, but he's got that guy's asshole attitude and personality.
And his voice, and he visually looks like him.
And apparently he was this child's father, the child who was left behind.
I swear to God that was all just tacked on. Like,
I don't even know. It's very weird.
It feels like something massive that you should have known about.
Yes.
But even when they mentioned it, I was like, hold on a second. I don't.
What? Yeah.
I even watched a recap of the first Avatar this morning, and they didn't mention any of that. So...
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't think it happened is what it is. Maybe James was like, oh shit, I wish I'd have put that in the first movie. But hey, we'll just explain it.
Wait, is there a comic or a book somewhere we're supposed to have read?
I don't know. Something. The director's cut is what I'm thinking, which we didn't see, which was like 5 hours or something. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It is a spectacle. It feels like when you're watching it, like you're not going to see something like this again for a while. They feel like an event, James Cameron movies.
True.
Like a cinematic event. So I don't know. I see a lot of people hating on Avatar. I think it got trendy to hate on it.
Oh, you mean like how people got into hating on Titanic?
Yes, exactly. I love Titanic. I could just go and watch it right now. I'm such a sucker for Titanic.
You are. You're a romantic.
I'm talking to Titanic. There's a bit of a link to Titanic in this one. Not just the water. The final act feels a bit like Titanic. It's a ship going down, right?
Correct.
What's the link to Titanic?
Kate Winslet.
Yeah, Kate Winslet plays a part in here. And I did read an interview where James Cameron said he always wanted to get her back in a water tank. He knows how much she hates it.
Well, she didn't have to be in a water tank. She's just the voice.
Well, apparently she did motion capture too. For
the
character.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, forget about that part. There are humans in suits. But when you're watching it, you don't even think of that.
I just figured they've done a really good job of modeling their faces to make you remember who they are, like what person they really are.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the movie, as it was playing out, I was like, oh, because they kind of look the same, I think I'm going to have a problem like learning who everybody is and knowing. But then that vanished after about 5 minutes because they've got little personalities, haven't they? Even the two brothers might look alike. But you know which one's which.
I didn't think they looked alike, but hey.
Well, you know me and faces.
True.
All right, so let's move on to the cast here of this fine movie. Sam Worthington returns as Jake. What do you think of Sam?
He was fine. He was a little quiet sometimes.
You can see.
A little mumbly.
You can see Sam Worthington in the Avatar
Absolutely.
model. Yeah, it's really cool. That.
I guess I should appreciate his reservedness. You know, he's a father now of 4 kids and has taken on the responsibility. He's been transferred into this body after he died, and he had been paralyzed before.
He actually is a Navi now.
Yeah, he's actually been converted to be like a whole completely different species on a different planet. So maybe that should let him off the hook for being a little bit more. He's just kind of, like
mellow.
Da 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 da, da 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 da. Ba-da-da-da. That's kind of how he talks.
Yeah, this movie, like The Fast and the Furious, is about family.
Correct.
The whole thing's family, right? Related.
Correct. Big time.
Zoe Saldana plays Natrici.
Very good.
That's probably wrong. She is amazing.
Very good.
The last 20 minutes of this movie, where she comes into action, let's say, it's astounding. I was like on the edge of my seat with it. I was like, it's like when you watch Rambo, and he finally's like, fuck this.
Yes.
It's that. And you're like, whoa, she's amazing. I love her. And she pretty much deals with the situation there, doesn't she?
Correct.
Because her kids are threatened, and she'll do anything for them, which is awesome. Sigourney Weaver plays Kiri. How does Sigourney Weaver, even though she dies, how does she end up back in this one?
Well, again, were we aware that the Sigourney Weaver character was with child at the time?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't think
but
so.
Apparently they've kept her in stasis, like in a vat of liquid this entire time. So in the first one, she dies. Spoiler alert, you should be caught up on that. And apparently she had a baby while she was dead. And this child, Jake, took on as his own daughter, him and his wife. And now she's got her voice. She's got Ripley's voice.
She's basically young Sigourney Weaver, Navi version. And she's cool.
She's very cool.
So they must have messed with a voice in a synthesizer, right? Because I
don't know. It's just a little softer and quieter. It doesn't sound any different. It just sounds like, she's kind of like this. Like if you just talk really soft. And
yeah, she probably did that.
Yeah.
We've got Stephen Lang again. Everybody who's dead in the first one's back.
Right on.
So Stephen Lang as Quaritch. What do you think of Stephen as the baddie?
I thought you already talked about him.
We were talking about that he was back in it.
Right. Over the top. He's kind of like my least favorite thing about the whole movie. The way he does it, the way he's just too much. And I understand we're supposed to hate him, but he's just too much. It's too much.
There's a sequence in the middle of the movie that I really loved. It's this whale hunting sequence.
It was awful.
I'm not talking about Stephen Lang, but this whale hunting sequence is awful, but it is amazing the way they filmed it.
True.
Like showing you exactly how cruel they're being to them. So they fire in these like things at these whales and then inflating them so it sucks them up to the surface.
I think that's what they really do.
And it's horrible. But
and
the
we've
whole
seen it in
sequence
Jaws, right? We saw it in the Jaws movie.
Yeah.
When he attached the barrels to the shark.
And then there's a whole battle sequence after that involves these whaling people that is also so satisfying. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, because by the time you get there, you want them all to be horribly, horribly brought to their end.
For a PG-13 movie, James goes all the way with like dismembering people, all kinds of crazy.
He didn't dismember anyone. He just chopped off an arm.
There was a couple of dismemberments when the boats were flying through the air, if you noticed.
No heads flying.
Yep, heads flying.
Really?
Yeah. And, this movie there's straight up people murder people. Like Zoe Saldana just goes off murdering everybody. It's crazy. It reminded me a bit of Aliens. There's a lot of like James Cameron things in there too, that you see. Like when they're in those watery bunkers in the ship at the end, it reminded me of The Abyss.
Kind of.
The camera work. I feel like James is on this quest. He learns things from each movie and then like incorporates things throughout We've also got Kate Winslet as Ronal. She's the queen of the water people, right? Like the head leader. I didn't know
people, yeah.
I didn't actually know it was her. I had to look up which one was Kate Winslet because I saw her name on the credits. But she was good. Directed by James Cameron. He's directed movies like Titanic, The Abyss, Aliens, Terminator. The list goes on. What do you think of James?
He's fine. He has a lot of resources. He has a lot of vision. He has a lot of whatever he's got to make it happen. So.
He's an expert. That's how I like to see him.
I mean, he probably surrounds himself with experts as well. I don't know how. I mean, does he write the software himself, or is he like that guy who invented Unreal Tournament?
He's
Cliffy B. You know what I'm saying?
James Cameron's involved in a lot of technological stuff. Like, when he did all those like underwater documentaries, he was really involved in the creation of those submarines and stuff.
I understand he's involved. I'm talking like, is he the guy in there soldering the things and the capacity? That's what I mean.
He's the visionary behind it.
He's the visionary. Yeah. And that's fine. You got to have a visionary, but you also have to have all the people who know how to put your vision into real life.
He is awesome. I love him.
I know.
Every movie that he does, no matter what it is, there's always something in it where I'm like, this is executed perfectly. I love it, And this movie, it was the ending with the Zoe Saldana bit where she was just bow and arrowing everybody. And that battle at the end with the whaling ships, it was so good.
And who else does perfect movies for you?
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Of course. All of them?
Quentin Tarantino.
All of them?
All of them.
That isn't true because you have said you haven't loved them all.
I mean, I like some better than others, but I like them all.
Okay.
Let's move on to IMDb reviews. What are those?
Those are reviews that people put on imdb.com. And the 1 stars often reflect this particular idea or these particular classic ideas. Waste of time. Oh, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. This movie never should have been made. That kind of stuff. And you love reading them because you just think they're ridiculous.
All right, Mr. Number 1 says, abysmal.
Abysmal.
The Way of Water is the cinematic equivalent of a wet fart. It's a bloated, overhyped mess that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. The plot is thin, the CGI is thick, and the characters are about as deep as a kiddie pool. I see all the water things he's doing here.
I see.
The dialogue is cheesy and cringeworthy, and the acting is about as convincing as a politician's campaign promises. The special effects are about as groundbreaking as a flip phone. What?
Yeah, I see what they're saying.
In short, Avatar is a cinematic travesty that's about as enjoyable as a root canal.
My goodness.
I mean, he's passionate. I give him that.
Mm.
Next guy says, I think James Cameron spent equal amounts of the budget on CGI and paying off movie critics. Ha ha ha.
Oh, that's
He
funny.
actually put ha ha ha. And that's the whole thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So claiming something that you have absolutely nothing to back it up with.
And number 3 says, it's awful in every way. This movie is awful. Every character acts like a moron. The same villain, same story. All the female leads are awful. The daughter has a storyline that never gets explored in 3 hours and makes 0 sense anyway. It's a movie about humpback whales with fins. There are a few minutes of coral reef and schools of fish, but it is awful, like the new Jurassic Park movie.
Oh, right.
So those are the people that didn't like it.
I mean, I'm snotty and I can be a little bit bitchy. I get that. And I criticize things. But I don't, even if I don't like a thing, I don't want to rip it down to where it doesn't exist or the person who does like it. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I probably said things where it's like, oh, are you kidding me? You like that? But I don't know. It feels like people thrive on putting their negative, like, ew, look how important I am to tell you that James Cameron sucks. Like, pat me on the back. Like, that's how it sounds.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's really boring.
All right, so there are some extras if you get this on streaming. There's like 3 hours of extras. I'm going to go and look at them tomorrow, so you can watch stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to give Avatar The Way of Water a score. I'm giving Avatar The Way of Water an 8 out of 10.
Ooh, I'm giving it a 7.9.
We're kind of tuned in for the last few weeks, about around the same.
Bit.
Yeah. So Avatar The Way of Water, 8 out of 10. 7.9 from Cinta. So thank you to Disney. Next week, we're looking at the new Adam Driver movie called 65. Do you know what this is?
I saw an ad for it.
You did?
Somewhere.
It's a sci-fi movie. You
and
like
I was
sci-fi
like,
movies.
is this Jurassic Park? It had dinosaurs.
Oh, did it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Spoilers. All right. Next week, 65 with Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, and dinosaurs.
Right on.
What's not to like?
No kidding.
Movie recommendations this week. I'm going with my James Cameron movies. It's Titanic, always. It's my favorite. I mean, it isn't, but it is. I could just literally watch it over and over. And Aliens, which is possibly the best sequel I've ever seen.
Careful. There's another little series of movies that you're awfully fond of.
You mean the Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
none of those compare to Aliens.
They're on the same level, yes, for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just confirming. I thought maybe Star Wars had dropped off your radar.
Oh, no.
My recommendations are coming from the early 2000s. We're going to go through my list of movies I've seen that are all science fiction. This is not in any way a reflection of their quality or that you should or shouldn't see them, because this is me lazying out. I just get the list. I put a few of them on here every week. So I have something to say. From 2009, we have Pandora, which I don't remember being great, but it was probably in one of those
Never heard of it.
weeks when I was watching a bunch of stuff for Halloween. Then we have Race to Witch Mountain, kind of fun with The Rock.
Yeah.
Correct. We have Splice, which is it a sequel to one of the other species, maybe? I can't remember. I know I've seen these movies. It doesn't mean I remember every detail. Then we have Surrogates, which was Bruce Willis, I believe. And then we have Watchmen, which is also one of your favorites.
Zack Snyder, Watchmen. Awesome.
Correct.
Yeah. Also, if you like the movie Watchmen, watch the HBO series as well, which was Jeremy Irons was in it. It was awesome also. They almost feel like the same thing to me, the movie and that series. They kind of blend into each other. Awesome. Hey, Scully stuff this week. I've been playing one game. It's called Loop Hero. It's a new game on Game Pass. And it's like an 8-bit kind of game. There's a lot of 8-bit games coming out, Sid Talk, at the moment. It's kind of like a trend of some kind. This one, you're like a little guy. It's one of those, it's called Loop Hero. So it's one of those games where you die often and come back and keep the things you had from last time and try and get better each time.
Okay.
But you're a little guy. It randomly generates like a level for you. And you go around it. And you have to, like an RPG, you have to kill the monsters in. It's like a little dungeon. You go around. And you have to go around as many times as you can without dying. And there are things, as you kill the monsters, it drops weapons and gives you extra stuff along the way. There's also a bit of like a Minecraft element where you can build the level because it gives you pieces that drop off the enemies that you can build. So you can build things to make extra resources for yourself to make things easier. But eventually you'll go round and round and round and round. Eventually you won't have enough health and you'll die and you'll get sent back to the warp gate. And then they'll generate another one for you and you'll go around. And it's about doing a run in there and getting the best stuff. Because you don't keep any of the weapons or anything, but you keep the resources. And then you use the resources back at base to make better stuff for you to go in and do better the next time. And there's a lot of games like that they call roguelikes. They're actually designed for you to die. Like you're supposed to keep dying. Because every time you die, you come back stronger. So it's called Loop Hero. It's on all platforms. It's not a new game. It's been out for a while. It just came on Game Pass this week. So if you want to try it, it's on Game Pass. Sid, what's for dinner?
Tonight we're having a flatbread with some scrambled eggs. So flatbread, like, flatbread. Like a pizza crust.
You mean like a bread that's flat?
Correct.
I get it.
One of those you buy in a packet. I didn't make it. With scrambled eggs and cheese and some roasted potatoes. Potato. And the reason we're telling you this is because we're vegetarian. We've been vegetarian since 2009, back when Pandora was made, and that was a movie you should go watch. Completely unrelated to being vegetarian. We're just telling you because people think when you don't eat meat anymore that there's something about it. I try on a regular basis to understand people's reactions. All I can feel like sometimes is that, okay, so there's the Matrix, right? That's real, right? We all agree that's reality. The Matrix is real. Yeah. And I somehow have been unplugged, but I'm still in it. And I listen to people say things like, "Oh, well, what can you eat?" And I'm like, I just want to wave my hand in front of their face. Like, are you like a bot or something? What the fuck is wrong with you? What do you mean? What can I eat? Everything on the planet that isn't a dead animal that is edible. And that's a lot. Like, I don't even understand this pat, boring question. I get it when people are curious. Like, oh, wow. So what do you eat? That's a whole different tone. It's a whole different vibe. Then they get their little necks up, and we're talking men, women, all sorts of people. They kind of crank their head back a little bit, look a little bit different, and get that attitude like, oh, so you're insulting me because I eat meat. I couldn't give a shit what you eat. You can eat your own foot. You can eat your husband or wife's foot if you want, if they approve. I don't care. It's not the issue. We just don't eat dead animals anymore. We are not vegan because that's a whole different thing. Vegan is a philosophy of life where you try to make choices about your consumption and living in a way that you hopefully are not constantly overtly exploiting other living creatures for your own benefit. And yes, I know the really weird, sarcastic arguments like, oh, but plants are living creatures. I get it. You want to make that argument with somebody? Go for it. I mean, again, you just sound like you've been programmed by what? By memes and ignorance and like this. It really irritates me sometimes. So that's why I'm telling you what we're eating.
I would say, talking of eating meat, make sure you watch Yellow Jackets. which is returned for a new season. It's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good segue. Good segue. Good segue. And so you want to know my advice as well?
I do, yes.
Okay, so my advice is not advice. It's just an observation. Have you ever noticed that people who get actually really angry about when you do something in a different way than they think it should be done? So, for example, gardening or making a podcast or art or raising your children or anything, they actually get angry with you. Well, you ain't going to grow no tomatoes like that. That's just a waste of your time. Like angry, like you feel this, like if you don't come and do it the way I'm doing it, I'm rejecting you and you're an idiot. That feeling. My observation has turned into this. What they're trying to do sometimes is make you think you're going to fail. Like, well, if you don't do it my way, it's not going to work. Idiot. You know, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've experienced it and seen it in the world.
Oh, yeah.
I think what they're really inside of them, what makes them really mad is that you might succeed or that you have succeeded. And that whoever taught them or told them or drilled into their brain with this sort of hijacking of everything, of your free thought and your free will to do it your way. Someone hijacked them and they're doing it this one way and you can't do it the other way because then what does that make me? My way is supposed to be the only way, right? So they're mad because you're succeeding or that you might succeed in a different way than they have somehow bought into the idea is the only way. And it's very confronting. It's very threatening to people. You know, they're very comfortable in their little, this is how you do it. And then if you try to crack that or break it open or just sit next to them and say, oh, hi, I'm over here doing it a different way. Look at us. We're both succeeding. Isn't that great? They don't think that's great. Even if there were 50 different ways lined up next to them, they still think all other 49 of you are idiots. And they're mad because they didn't try a different way, or they didn't accept that there was another way, or they know there are other ways, but they're too afraid to try because whoever told them, right? Whoever taught them, they're in a world where that's not acceptable to
I see.
Crack it open and try the other way. So they're just resentful and maybe a little jealous. I don't know.
Well said.
That's it.
Well done.
That's all there is.
ascully.com is the website you can go to get this podcast. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and YouTube. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter if you want to catch us on social media. I'm A Scully. She's Sid Talk. You can also email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com. Do not email Sid Talk. She doesn't want to give her address out or speak about it again. And stay classy, Mr. James Cameron. We're going to get another Avatar movie. In fact, we're getting another 3 Avatar movies, Sid Talk.
Okay, and I'm going to say think for yourselves. Because if you don't, I guarantee you someone's doing it for you.